All right, before we jump into our Olympic sport or the hashtag BGP Mail Satchel, let's talk about the Olympic sports coverage here with our sponsors. Starting with Styles Roofing. If you were in the greater Charlotte area and you got roof damage, which you might, depending on how the storm hit or how that rain was falling, 704-842-1874 is the number for App State alumnus and superfan Billy Styles. And folks are the best in the business, okay? They're not going to get paid until the job's done and you're satisfied, and they work fast. Trust me, they do a great job. Many Black Gold podcast listeners have worked with Styles Roofing, and that's the only name you need for fixing your roof. And then also Community One Insurance. They're a broker. They're going to work for you on your behalf and be your insurance specialist, whether it's for your home and auto or your business or really any insurance need that you have. They're going to make sure that you get the best policy for your needs. That includes price, not just price, but making sure that they're going to put you with the right provider for what you're looking for. And if you need them, if you say, hey, do I need to file a claim? What do I need to do? They are there to help you. Okay. They're Appalachian State grads from the Brantley Risk Management department at the Walker College of Business. They know insurance in and out, based in Matthews, North Carolina, but they work anywhere in the state. And the number to call or text, 828-455-2335. That's Matthew Johnson. You can also email him, matthew.johnson@community1insurance.com. And as I understand it, they've already had some folks from the Black and Gold podcast or listeners of the Black and Gold podcast contact them to ask about some policies. And go save some money, folks. Most of the time, they're going to save you money. If they can't, then they won't. So it's as simple as that. But Charles, let's get in here with some Olympic sports. Let's start with soccer here. So it's obviously been a minute since we've played a game here, and I'm actually trying to do the math here. So the last time we covered a game, we beat Georgia Southern at Georgia Southern, and we were on the road and played Louisiana 1-0. We had a home match scheduled for Sunday against Arkansas State that was postponed until October 20th, according to the website. But we did play this past Friday down in Atlanta and tied 1-1. So that's what's been going on. We've had a match postponed to October 20th at home, but we've tied and won with the overall conference record of 2-0-1, an overall record of 5-3-3.
So it's a draw, AJ. It's a draw. When you tie in soccer, it's a draw.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's a comeback win, honestly, for the Apps. Kylie Switalski, hopefully I got that right, her first goal of the year in the 73rd minute of the second half, evens the score to bring us to a draw once time had expired. We actually dominated the second half and dominated overall in shots. Just not enough on goal. But at 6 corner kicks, I mean, the opportunities were there. We also a little physical, 15-8 in fouls. But hey, you'll take a draw when you can. Oddly enough, Kylie, who got the goal in the 73rd minute, also got a yellow card in the 74th. So she's a little jacked up about that goal. You know what? I've done that before, honestly, and that's understandable. So, but hey, unbeaten in conference play. That's all that matters. 2-0-1.
There you go. And going on to volleyball here, we actually had – this is actually a very interesting this is a very interesting story from the volleyball team. They played in Harrisonburg on Thursday and Friday, the 26th and 27th, with all that rain was happening there on that Friday. They win, Charles. They sweep, okay, an opening Sunbelt match. So it's great.
Yeah.
And we have to cancel our home match against Louisiana. That's just canceled. It doesn't say postponed. Now we're playing down in Norfolk this Friday and Saturday. But what a story! It might, it would be interesting to hear from Coach Noble and that staff and those players what they were experiencing, because obviously they're celebrating winning a big sweep at James Madison, only to find out did they go home? Like, what happened? But I'm not even sure.
I mean, I would imagine, 6 o'clock Friday, they got done, and I don't know, they hit the bus and they come down and they see, oh my goodness, I would imagine the route was fine, assuming they went down 81, to 77, 421, all that good stuff. I think it was probably in good shape, but I don't know. I would be something definitely interesting to hear what their side of the story was and what kind of conversations they had between games, honestly, from
Yeah.
Thursday to Friday about what's going on. So, but hey, 2 good wins in Harrisonburg, 2 that were canceled, and we go to Norfolk this weekend.
There you go. Let's hope for another sweep here. And then rounding out things with Olympic sports, we have the 2024 field hockey schedule up here. And this is so did we play in Boone on the 29th and the 30th? Did we do that? We played home games right after all this stuff?
In Charlotte.
Okay. All right. I missed that one. So we do win 2-1 against Central Michigan on Sunday, 3-0 against Bellarmine on Monday. We go on the road to Kent State. You know that hardcore rivalry we have with Kent State. 1-0 we win. So we're on a 3-match winning streak. And then drop one to 18th ranked Liberty on the road. We got blanked 5-0, but 3-1. 3-1 since we last reported here. Overall record of 7-4 with a Charles, and this is what matters, a 4-0 conference record.
Yeah, Sterling 4-0 MAC record. Stalwarts in MAC field hockey, which is great. You really should have just canceled that Liberty game on Sunday, though.
Yeah.
Just not played it.
I see what you're doing. There you go. That's funny. So that rounds out Olympic sports coverage here. We're going to get Josh Thomas in here in a second. Hashtag BGP Mail Satchel, sponsored by Blue Deer Cookies, downtown Boone, downtown Blowing Rock. You know what I should have done? I should have pulled up to see whether or not Blue Deer if they have their regular hours. I think they have different hours, but that's something I should have looked up. I'm just such in a
West
habit.
Jefferson is definitely open.
Yeah.
We know about that. Shout out Mike Wright for stopping by.
That's right. That was a great picture, wasn't it?
Grabbing a cookie or ice cream. I don't know what he got. Maybe it was a nice coffee. Could have been a lot of things.
Well, so regardless, downtown Boone and downtown Blowing Rock are the locations. If you're up there and the store's open, normal hours 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday. Go grab exactly what Mike Wright did. Go grab a cook, as Charles said, and whatever treat or hot drink or milkshake or whatever. It's an awesome place, and I love every time I see a Black and Gold podcast listener post anything about Blue Deer. Is really cool. It's a great spot. So we thank them for sponsoring the segment. Let's get JT in here. He's texting somebody. Oh, he's looking up now.
There we go.
What's going on? Oh, he's yawning. We're keeping
What's
him
going
up
on,
late.
guys? How we doing?
New backdrop. You new spot?
Yeah, I finally moved to Charlotte last week. So
okay,
all moved in. Yeah.
Is that your artwork?
Nah, this came with it. Still working on mine.
I love it.
Stuff up here. Yeah.
You enjoying it so far?
Yeah, man. Charlotte's a great city, so definitely enjoying my time here, finding some good food spots.
Give us one.
I went to the Eagle yesterday. It was pretty good. Just picked it up. I wasn't trying to be sitting outside, nothing like that. But so I could watch the game. But yeah, the Eagle. It's like a food, and I think it's called a beer hall. It's like 5 minutes from where I live, South Charlotte. So it's pretty good.
Very
Did
nice.
you live in Charlotte before when you were at the Panthers for a hot minute?
Yeah. I mean, I was just in a hotel downtown. I didn't really put any roots down. I was only here for like 6 weeks, maybe. So yeah.
Nice. Gotcha. Well, glad you're here. Glad you're in the old North State now.
Oh yeah.
Very good. East time zone. That's why you're yawning a little bit. It's a little late. You're used to being here at 7:30. Now it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it's late, low key, but it's all good though.
So before we get started here, as always, Josh, really, really glad that you spent time with us. But remind people what you're doing, what you're up to, about the Tigma Collective real quick, and give a rundown of that. Just to remind people of what you got going on and what Tigma's all about.
So yeah, I mean, pretty much like we always talk about, general manager of Tigma. Today I give them all the collective that works with App State. Doing everything we can to, raise money for our student athletes. But right now it's kind of on the back burner as we're focusing some of our efforts to the hurricane relief. I know you guys have done a great job partnering with the Chamber of Commerce and David Jackson are raising over. I mean, last time I saw it was over 45,000.
Yep.
For the Boone Chamber, and so we're trying to use the efforts to funnel as much relief as we can through App State Disaster Relief and Boone Chamber and Red Cross for North Carolina. Partnering with some other collectives, Midnight Ride. They work the UMass collective as they use some of their student athletes to promote it as well. So that's great. So we're doing that as well. Just want to help the community as much as we can. Neighbors helping neighbors and getting people back to some sort of normalcy, as well as our basketball tip-off dinner. Hopefully, it's going to be November 1st at the Home Center. So go to Tigma.com to sign up today and get your spot to see Coach Kearns talk about the team we have this year and how excited we are for the upcoming season. I'll be there as well, so I hope to see a bunch of black and gold and have fans there as well. And then just trying to do a bunch of initiative now that I'm in Charlotte. Anybody want to come out and meet me, I'll be more than happy to come and see you anywhere in the North Carolina now that I'm here. So that's what I've been doing so far, and just working with athletics, trying to get everything we can to help people and then also raise money for our student athletes.
There you go. It's awesome, man. And just about that fundraiser, I know we mentioned it here earlier, but I thought this was cool. And since we're here and it's a sports podcast, I've loved seeing the former athletes give back. And this isn't like we're not even doing like a sports fundraiser with the Chamber Foundation. This is just to help Boone, North Carolina, right. Citizens of Boone, North Carolina. So I just want to shout out a couple people. Number one, it's not a former athlete or anything, but Shorty and Tammy Johnson, listeners of the Black Gold podcast. And these are just recent. These are just like recent gifts here. They gave $1,500 to our GoFundMe here. But then we had Des Reed gave $100, which is awesome. Love to see him get involved. Katie Pate, former administrator, gave to the GoFundMe. Wayne Smith, Charles, that's a name you remember. Big. He was offensive lineman or defense? He was offensive lineman, right?
Yeah.
And he played in Canada for like 15 years.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, Wayne Smith donated, and then Matt McMahon. He joined and gave to the GoFundMe, and so we have a lot there. We have some women's basketball, some men's basketball, some football there, all represented in various connections there. So again, go to BooneRecovery.com. All proceeds are going to go to the Boone Chamber Foundation, and they've already dictated where the first funds are going to go to help the community, which is awesome. And we talked about that on the post game. So, all right, let's jump into the hashtag BGP Mail Satchel here. I'm a little late to the game here. I need to pull this up. I should know better by now here. So let's start off here with this is Reynolds Seaton. Reynolds says, obviously Joey Aguilar shouldn't be our leading rusher, but I enjoy seeing him move the chains with his feet. Do you guys think coaches will continue to design plays for him to run more as we head into the meat of conference play? Charles, what do you think about designed runs for Joey football?
Well, it's dangerous in my opinion, but I think we need something, to have defense to think about something else besides just running inside outside. It's something else for them to think about. I know we had success last year running, with Joey against Marshall, and I think that's okay in certain circumstances. But I think one of the quotes I always remember is from the great Indianapolis Colts offensive coordinator, QB coach, and I can't remember his name, but he was just an old guy with white hair. But he said about Peyton Manning, he's like, we don't practice, and he used a very incredible word there. It's like, so Peyton takes all the snaps, the backup guy doesn't take any snaps. If he goes down, we're what.
Yeah.
So I've kind of always been that guy. Like there, it's like go out there and ball out. But I mean, Peyton Manning and Joey Aguilar are two different guys too. So
yeah,
but we need to we need to get creative. We got to pick up the what's left from others who are kind of dropping the ball right now.
Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, kind of picking back off what Big C said. I think quarterback run game is definitely harder to stop because it adds that extra blocker into the scheme. So you have numbers on offense, but like you said, it's a dangerous playing a game of chance. Sometimes D lineman can fall on them and just you never know what can happen. But I think I think we kind of showed that last week a little bit. It's just the threat of our quarterback being able to run should open up more gaps for our running backs and our running schemes. But I think it's kind of a double edged sword. You want to have that threat, but you don't want to have to go to it all the time because it can just hamper your offense. Even if he doesn't get hurt, let's just say the quarterback run game runs a draw and he sprains his ankle. Now he can't do 25% of the playbook that has him doing other stuff where you can't really roll out or things like that. So I think it definitely should be incorporated just in opportune situations where if we need it like third down, red zone, but I don't think it should be like a quote unquote staple in our run game moving forward.
I mean, I agree. It's a tremendous risk, but right now I think we would really benefit from making, like Charles said, making the defense think about like, okay, it's 3rd and 3.
Right.
What could they do here?
Make them guard everything.
Yeah. Do something, but at the same time, don't give it to him too much. So here's a good one. This is from Kimry Reinhardt here. If the Tigma Collective coffers were full and flowing with cash and never ending, how would you begin?
That's a possibility. That doesn't have to be Fantasyland.
There you go.
Did I say it was fantasy?
No, that was I put that little
okay
on there. I think he said hypothetically, but it could be realistic.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Charles, what would you do? The coffers are full for Tigma. Josh is just like rolling in slot, man. He's happy.
I don't know. I don't know if this is a question I should be answering. I think this is Josh's this is his wheelhouse. And
if the coffers were full, what would we do? This is a really good question.
Never ending.
Never ending. I think
get that Ohio State money.
Yeah, I think. Oh man, I wish. We should go to some of those towns that we've been to in North Carolina, South Georgia, Alabama, and some of Florida, and go find some linemen. I think can make a difference.
You talking about high school kids?
High school, and portal. I don't mind portal guys, but I think for us to get where the fan base and everybody wants is it doesn't have to be high school kids, but it would be preferred if it was, because now we can get guys with Matt and in the system and on the mountain for where they go through spring ball for 2 years and now they come out as redshirt sophomores and they're ready. You know what I mean? And they've been in the fire. They know what's expected of them, and they can go out there and play. And then just like being a skill player and knowing kind of what butters my biscuit is offensive, defensive, or D lineman. Like if I didn't have Mike Stout, Meach, Nick Hampton, if I didn't have those guys in front of me like making plays, I wouldn't have been as successful as I was. So I think that's where it starts. You have to start build the game inside out. So coffers were full. I would go find us some new DNs, new D tackles, and dominate up front, because once you're dominating up front, everything else is that much easier. So coffers were full. That would be my first thing.
How important, this is kind of a side note because I have a thought about this Tigma question, but for you, totally curious. I don't know what you're going to say. How important is it, do you think, to have roster of college players that only know how to go about being a college football player the way we do it, versus you get some guys that have gone through these places. Yeah. Like how important is that? How much of a difference does that make, do you think?
I wouldn't say it would make that big of a difference, because I think that we do it as good as anybody in the country. So when people come from other schools or people I've talked to like playing with other players in the NFL, and just, we always sit around and talk about, well, this is what we did in college and this is what y'all do. So, we do it as good as anybody in the country, but I think it's all about reps, man, and time on task, and being around the guys you're about to be in the fire with. Like, that's such a big deal. It's a reason why military or firefighters or anybody when you're in those type of situations with those type of guys, you're in your unit all the time. You
Mm,
don't take you don't not spend time with those guys because like you have to feel like that guy is literally your brother.
mm,
Like your mom birthed him, you know what I mean? So
mm,
that's kind of the feeling that we had. I mean, I feel like they have it. It's just not showing up on game day right now, and that's what's everybody's frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm sure the
yeah,
coach, players frustrated. Everybody's frustrated. So
right.
it's just that's like the biggest thing I would say is just being together all the time, working
Yeah.
out on the field, practice, study hall. Like those are the times where you really learn your teammate is breakfast after you just had that 6 a.m. lift and we're all sitting in trivet or Rose Dining Hall and we're kind of just eating our eggs and laughing about what we just did at 6 o'clock in the morning, while the regular students are like barely able to get out of bed and go there at 9 o'clock. Where we've already done more than they'll do for the whole week. You know what I mean? So that's where it comes in, and I think just like I think the guys are bought in. I just think it's just not we're just not seeing the results, but the buy-in as well. Just like everybody being bought in about the block A and what it means to everybody. Like
Mm,
that that means everything. Like I got this. I've been wearing this shirt all day. I don't even know I didn't take it off. 'Cause I've been done working for 3 hours, but
mm,
I love to wear it. And like it's a part of who I am now. So
yeah.
you know what I mean. And just I don't know. Like knowing how we do things is great, but somebody can come in with a different perspective. Like Jeff Jones, our the strength coach who replaced Coach Mike, he had a whole different perspective, and we didn't necessarily agree with it at first, but just the way he saw things and the way he thought about training, it opened our eyes to something new, and we just had to be able to adjust to it. And so, just because it's different doesn't mean it's worse or better. It's just different. So that's my take on that.
I think there's something also that has really nothing to do with football, but it's like, I see it in every class. You used to see it more, of course. Guys would they'd kind of bond over what class they came in as, right? And you're learning together, even though you're football players, how to like live on your own for the first time. Like you're just dumb
Yeah,
18-year-olds and like what are we doing? We're living alone. Yeah. And I think there's something
yeah,
about going through those experiences. Like we're growing up here in Boone, North Carolina for the first time away from our families. And that has nothing to do with football, but that has to do with bonding with your team and then knowing the other guys went through the same
same
steps,
thing.
walked up the same hills and everything else. I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy because like I literally paid my first bill in college. Like I never had to pay a bill. Had
Yeah.
to set up electric and water. Like that's something I just you don't do that when you're like in high school. So yeah, you have to learn. Like Vic used to set up all of our bills and stuff. Like because he just already knew how to do it. And I was like, how does he know how to set up electric for an apartment? He's like, yeah, I can do it, no problem. I'm like, all right, perfect. I'm glad
So
you're with us.
so so let me ask you about the high school stigma thing. What's the approach? And if you're not allowed to answer this, like I understand, but I mean, you're going out there and you're talking to high school kids, and I think we
Oh,
know, like,
I'm not talking to high school kids. That's like the
no, I know
coach.
you're not. I know you're
Yeah,
not. I know you're not. Let me strike that from the record. I'm not assuming that, but there's this interesting element of like collective NIL stuff where you have totally unproven high school kids. I mean, how many kids were highly touted by coaches that just never panned out? I mean, there's stories. I'm not going to name names just because it's not who cares, but I remember, different coaches or different players telling me in hindsight, like, yeah, the coach is really high on this guy. He's never played. So how does that work? Like, how would you decide who to work with when they're just not proven? See, to me, it makes like sense to use that to lure people with a little bit more of a track record, but or even
yeah,
keeping kids here that already like
yeah,
working
for
it.
sure. And that's really the goal. That's really the main thing we want is to keep the kids that we get out of that we recruit that want to come here. You know what I mean? Once they show that they've they play at a high level, then we want to keep them. You know what I mean? That's our goal as far as when it comes to retaining and attracting top athletes to come to App State. But yeah, I mean, it's really dependent on what the coaches want to do as far as where they want to allocate their resources as far as high school or portal. And so I really just I'll follow their lead and kind of help them as far as what's a good financial decision based on market value, things of that nature. So,
Yeah.
and then I mean, high school kids are definitely unproven because I don't want to say it's a crapshoot, but it is pretty much like you really
You don't
some
know.
you don't know. You can say this kid's a sure thing, but
You don't know.
you really don't know until he gets here and gets in front of those D1 college bodies because it's not high school. Like I watched my little brother like last week, and then watching Ryan Williams play for Alabama and thinking that that kid could be in the same field as my brother is like it's insane. Like it doesn't really make sense in my head. You know what I mean? So it's just like you really have to just make good decisions and trust your process. That's what recruiting really comes down to, is coaches trusting their process as far as talent evaluation, seeing them live, seeing them at camp, and trusting that they've done their due process and that the kid will pan out eventually, and hopefully 1 year, but 3 to 4 or 5 years down the road.
Does it come down to a kid out of high school? It's really, really good, and how they react to really getting punched in the face for the first time, like at college speed, like how they
Yeah,
react to that is
for
ultimately what's going
sure.
to dictate it.
Yeah,
Because
no
everybody at this
doubt.
point is good in high school.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely about that first, because I mean, you're gonna face adversity when you get to college, unless you're just, first round like Ryan Williams or that kid at South Carolina, like that DN. He's incredible. But like, yeah, you're gonna face adversity. So that's why coaches, especially now, like especially since I was in the recruiting process, is just they focus a lot on character, what kind of person you are,
Mm.
what kind of family you come from, and just what you've been through. Because like when you that first week of college camp, when it gets to live pads, you're gonna be facing like you're gonna be sitting in trivet thinking, do I really want to play football? You know what I mean? Like like I told the story when I hit Jalen Moore and I just bounced off of him like it wasn't nothing. It was just like, am I really built to do this? You know what I mean? You have to look yourself in the mirror and say yes, or some people say no, and that's what I mean. They just on scholarship for 4 years, get their degree, and go about their business. But so, I mean, it's definitely not. You have to be able to go through. That's why coaches always harp on, man. Like I think every coach who recruited me asked me like, "What's the hardest thing you've been through in your life?" Just to kind of gauge what he can and can't handle. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
that helps them figure out how they're going to coach a kid, because you can't coach every kid the same. How they're going to if some adversity happens, how you want to approach him, and see just make sure he's all right. But how you approach each individual player, you have to kind of know their background and know what they've been through. So that's kind of the process of what a coach kind of thinks about. From this is coming from a player, and just knowing what coaches have asked, and kind of this is probably how they want to approach things.
Yeah. So the way I would set up a Tigma thing, I would want to design, and obviously Josh would be something I'd like sit down with you and whatever, but I would want to design some sort of like predictable like vesting schedule of like just outlining and very transparently, here's how you can hit the like I just would want everything to be transparent and expectations to be set, because I think that there's a lot
Hmm.
of the messier elements of NIL have come from not being transparent and not
No
having
doubt.
things laid out. That's ultimately what I would want. I would want our coaches to go after, like you just said, Josh, dudes in high school that have high upside, high energy, that are just tough, and go after them, but identify them early and work with them. To see how we can meet their needs, but also be very transparent and have the expectations like laid out clearly, because I feel like that can eliminate a lot of stress, a lot of
No
anxiety.
doubt. No doubt.
um,
Everybody, as long as everybody's on the same page when it comes to what they're getting and what they're getting in return, then it should be no problem. But
right.
that's the biggest thing, especially with this NIL and collectives, or does he have an agent, or which collective is it? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like the open line of communication and making sure everybody's on the same page is like the biggest thing, no doubt.
Right. uh this is from A-Holes Tailgate, from Mike. Appreciate him chiming in here always. In looking at transfer portal offensive linemen, do you think proven / experienced linemen from smaller schools, i.e. Bucky Williams, are a better option versus highly recruited but unproven linemen from P5 schools, or are we looking for long-term development? I love that question because I have no idea what the strategy is.
That's a $1 million question right there. If we had the answer, we would do
yeah.
it. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think you just like you have to weigh, like it's all based on the player. Like if you go small school, you could say he has experience, he's played 2 or 3 years, but he hasn't played at the level that he's about to play at now. And so will he be able to adjust? Or you have to watch, like, for instance, ETSU, you have to go back and watch every time they played at FBS school and how did he play? How did he do? How did he look? And so you could go that route, which I mean, all the routes are viable. It's just, like I said, that due process of making you vet the kid and make sure that you think he's going to pan out. But at the end of the day, you really don't know until he has to put his hands on Sean Collins or Santana Hopper. Can he block him? You know what I mean? So it's like all three are very viable and they're all great options, but it's really based on individual player and what you see in his player profile of, if we get a like Noah Hannon, like I'm sure I don't want Noah's my guy, but I'm sure that Coach Clark didn't think Noah was going to be what he was when he was at App State until he got here. He started playing, and it's like, I mean, can't take him off the field, and so it like you said, that high upside. Noah was a high energy, high character, tough. Like those three things you just said, that was Noah Hannon to a T. And so if we can find guys like that in the portal or in high school, you know what I mean, that would be amazing. Just gotta find diamonds in the rough. So, I mean, they're all great options, but the recruiting is so much. It was always difficult, but now it's just everybody's looking for those type of guys. So you just have to.
You're fighting for them.
Yeah, you're fighting for them. So
yeah.
Charles, what do you think? I mean, it's all a crapshoot, right? I mean, JT said it. It's like how do you put your faith in a guy that hasn't played anywhere else at all compared to someone who has? And you're basically rolling the dice with all of them. It's like you haven't been hit because you weren't, you didn't show it somewhere else. So why do can you do it here? I mean, it's a second chance kind of a situation for a lot of these guys. And if they don't want to get hit, they don't. You can't make them want to get hit. You can't make them it's really easy, I guess, when you're in high school and you're just bigger than everybody and you can just push everybody out of the way. But when you get to college and it's like some dudes are going to like be smaller and still think they, be outweighed by 50 pounds and still take you on. And like the saying always goes, it's like everybody thinks they're somebody till they get hit in the mouth, and if they're not willing to get hit in the mouth and respond, then at the end of the day, you're just looking for someone who just will. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what they look like, how big they are, just fight back, So, I mean, we got a lot of guys here who haven't cracked that mold, that we brought in. And, there's a lot to be said for that. It's always going to be a game of which way do you go? And you're just always just taking it's the hypothesis you guys. The best educated guess is this guy better than this guy, and we hope he is. Yeah. And it's tough every year. It's tough every time the portal opens, in December and now in April and then in between you're recruiting. Yeah, it's all just I hope you get it right.
And there are thousands of people employed by hundreds of programs to go look for those guys. I mean, it's true. They're looking for the high energy.
Right. So what? You can't be right every time.
Right.
Like someone is going to get luckier than you sometimes.
Yeah. That's right.
And there's I saw something on X today. There's a list of coaches and at high profile schools, and they did a snapshot of their last like 12 games. A lot of dudes getting paid $7 and $8 and $9 million a year, and the last 12 games are like 5 and 7. And like one of those is Lincoln Riley at USC. Yeah. And sometimes he gets it wrong too.
He can pick from the cream of the crop and still can miss.
It's still miss. So if those guys can miss, how easy is it for our guys to miss?
Yeah.
And boom,
Yeah, we have a tighter rope to walk here, and this is actually a really great question from Mike, because we actually have at the center position here, and I know Bucky wasn't a center, but we actually have an example of three. So we have Caden Sweat, who was I think he's a redshirt freshman this year. It's a high school recruit from last year, Caden Sweat. We have a kid that transferred from, I think, Valdosta State. I might be wrong about that, but I think it was either a D2 or an FCS school that transferred in, who was like a really good all-conference player. I can't remember his name. I think it's Michael Murata, I think, maybe, on the team. So like whatever, that kind of Bucky Williams mold. And then we had Jack Hollifield from Virginia Tech. So we have three of those. So we have a power, an under-recruited guy, and a high school guy. And right now, the Virginia Tech guy is the starting center. So that's how that worked out. So that's how that worked out that time. Does that mean that that's the only way to do it? Absolutely not. That's not how it
That's
works.
the thing about football and team building. There is no quote unquote right way to do it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what's really frustrating. But to be fair though, when you do find a good way to do it that has success, you gotta stick to it. And I think that's kind of a theme of what I think the frustration has been, certainly on my side. I'll speak for myself, is we've seen these, the way we go about doing things that seem to work and backfill. I don't want to say backfill positions where we have a Josh Thomas sitting across we have three Josh Thomases sitting just waiting to come up, because sometimes you can't find that Josh Thomas and it's like you miss, like we said. But I think the goal here, about the last part of his question, are we looking for long-term development? Yeah, I think that is what you want. I think that there are several of these transfer guys. We have one from Auburn, one from like USC, one from Florida State or whatever. They all have another year, right? So these guys, they're not just done this year. You want these guys to stick around, get stronger, to play with each other as much as possible, to see like what's the ceiling here. And right now it hadn't been great. Like there haven't been holes opened up for the running back. We haven't been running those inside zone. We haven't been, the elephants on parade very well. We haven't looked explosive at offensive line. So, but these are also guys that met each other in January. And you could say, okay, we'll give them time. But like I've mentioned this for several times this season already, we knew we had three interior linemen to replace like 2 years ago. And now this year we had to fill it with transfer portal guys this year. Well, okay. So we kind of put ourselves in that situation, didn't we? So I think it's long-term development. That's what you ultimately want. But I also think there are some situations you find yourselves in, you just need to take a body and hope that you can build them and teach them the right way. Because some of these guys, Josh, are bigger than any offensive line. You are, like, size-wise, these are bigger than any guys you played with.
Giant. They're giant. And like to piggyback off that, it's just like the development part of it is, especially now, like kids are not, I'm not saying they're not going to wait, but most people don't want to wait. They think that the grass is always green on the other side. They think they can find something else somewhere better. And that's not necessarily true, because, I mean, you never, like you said, we talked about this earlier, you never know how another program is ran and what they're doing. It just might not be a fit for you. But I think the challenge now is to, like, kind of what we talked about, is to develop and develop quickly. You know what I mean? Like now kind of picking up what you said, like you meet in January. So now we have to figure out a way to develop these guys from January to August. So by the time the season starts, they're somewhat ready, which is, easier said than done, but that's where we are now with the portal and when kids can get on campus and things like that. So now you kind of have to pivot from, all right, we're going to take the whole fall, like the whole season, red shirt and camp to develop a guy. Now you have to develop him from spring, summer, training camp. He has to be developed in that window. You know what I mean? Instead of having that whole beginning of his first season where he doesn't play. If he doesn't play that first year, he might leave. So you have to, figure out a way to develop him in the spring and through the summer to get him better, which is easier said than done. But like that's where all colleges are. And you just have to find a way. Just got to find a way to do it. To be honest.
Yeah, Charles. Let's get Facebook queued up here. I know we got a late start, and I don't want to take forever. We have some. Oh, Charles is gone. Charles just left. He
I
got
think
dropped
his
out.
was I think his was dropped because I think he was talking and then it was no sound.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so he's had that Boone internet going on here. I think he's gonna
Dude.
kick back in here. He hasn't texted me here. But we'll just he'll pop back in here in a second. I was gonna tell him to go to Facebook to read some questions there. And we do have some good questions here on Twitter. I'll get this one started and Charles can jump back in here. But this is from today. I give my all. Is this issue a scheme issue that doesn't fit the players or the players that don't fit the scheme? Parts of the staff may unfortunately meet their demise with a historical run of points being allowed. This wasn't predicted by anyone. So I'm going to guess here that this is a defense question, Josh. Here, and I want to kind of add to that because that's a question, not a question. That's a topic that like been a little frustrating for me because last year we went and basically added another safety on the field, right? With the star package.
Yeah.
And that's great. And you could say, well, it's kind of like a hybrid. It's like kind of like another. It's a smaller, faster, more agile.
He's basically playing outside linebacker. Yeah.
Right.
Star. It's outside linebacker, but with a different body.
Right. So, but what worked so well for Appalachian State when Nate Woody brought over that 3-4 defense in 2013 and just like really ran on cruise control once we got it down, once we knew the kind of players that we wanted. And I know you're grinning because you guys ran that so well. You guys averaged like the last couple of years of your career, you averaged like 11 points, giving up 11 points a game. It was crazy. Just didn't give up any points. But now we're not seeing that, and now we're really lacking in stopping the run on the inside. Just it's teams are running right at us, and obviously having some big busts in the secondary. Josh, what do you think about that? Scheme issue doesn't fit the players. Players don't fit the scheme. Combination of both. Hold on a second. Charles is back here. Charles, Josh is answering this. Wait, can I hear you? Say something.
Boone's got internet, boys. You know what I mean?
So this is the question I just read to Josh, just so you're up to speed here. This is from today. I give my all. And I was going to say cue up Facebook here.
I got it. Been waiting.
Is this issue a scheme issue that doesn't fit the players or the players that don't fit the scheme? Part of the staff may unfortunately meet their demise with a historical run of points being allowed. This was not predicted by anyone. Josh was going to answer that. Or give his take.
So I think it's definitely a combination of both. Day as well. So like you said, when I was there, the 3-4, we had fast, smaller interior linemen that could slant and get off blocks that would free up our linebackers. And then we had two outside linebackers that would set edges. You know what I'm saying? They would just set hard edges, make the ball cut up inside, and our Mike and Will would just fit gaps literally all game.
Yeah.
I could watch. I could see it from running. They would just edges set, fit gaps, and so I think that's the biggest thing is right now is that we're not setting edges as well as we should be, and then our linebackers aren't able to fit. So, and like I'll give you an example, just like something to think about. So, if we're on the right hash, and they run to the field, instead of our end setting the edge on the logo, the edge is being set on the opposite hash. And so that's, I don't know how much field. It's probably 15 to 20 yards more field that our linebackers have to somehow find a way to get over and fit with a linebacker, with a running back who's probably faster than they are. And so it just makes it that much harder to fit it. It's already hard to fit all that run scheme now with the motion shifts, half the tight ends going back, all that stuff. It's already harder to fit it alone. But now you don't have an edge set. And then you have a guard climbing up on you trying to grab you. And now it's out the gate and it's on our safety and he's untouched. And it just, and it's not what we want. So that's the biggest thing I would say is just got to set hard edges. And then, man, we getting up the field too much. Like Marshall game, they were running just QB run game, QB draw. And we're just gassing up the field, and we have no edge. And they got pullers getting up on our safeties and our linebackers, and that's just when a 315-pound guy gets to run at full speed, it's not what you want. So that's what I've been seeing as far as watching on tape. edges aren't being set, and then just communication on the back end. And I mean, that just comes with time. When guys don't play together, they just not on the same page. And I know that can be frustrating to hear as a fan. Like, well, what are they doing? But it's just when, like I said, when live bullets are flying and you trying to communicate with somebody and ball snap. Like I remember I was in a meeting in the league in Buffalo, and we're do the calls while the film is running, and I kind of stuttered a little bit because he was ball snap, touchdown. I'm just like, well, dang, coach, like at least give me like half a second to think. But he was preparing me for it. That's how it is. Like if you can't have the capacity, not to say you don't have the capacity, but if you can't remember what you have to play or what you have to call in that quick second, it could be a touchdown just that fast. You know what I mean? So, and that's kind of what I've been seeing. It's just that it's literally like the Cowboys game on Sunday night. That touchdown was literally like this much from being a PBU Steelers win, but it wasn't. It was a touchdown, and that's kind of where we are right now. We're like that far away from setting the edge, making the tackle for 2 yards, and not setting the edge, and it breaks for 12. Now we got to play 3 more downs, and now D line's tired. The linebackers are looking like, damn, why the D line ain't fitting. Corners are looking like, damn, why they not fitting. Now we got to play man. And now you know what I mean? It's a slippery slope. Like, what are they? I can't even think of what. I think it's poop fault downhill or something like that. But yeah, something rolls down. Yeah,
Poop fall downhill. All
I don't
right.
want to cuss on here, but it rolls. It
Probably
rolls
good.
downhill.
Probably good
Yeah.
idea.
But yeah, that's what happens on defense when it's not working. Like when something's not working, it just like it feels like you're playing against 15 people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what it feels, and that's what I'm saying. It looks like we're playing 15 on 11, like they have 3 extra linemen out there when it's not working. You know what I mean?
I think I found myself saying, to myself during the Marshall game, how come we can't just get anybody in the way of them? You know what I mean? And I think I was doing that on both sides of the ball. It's like, where are our dudes? Like, somebody needs to have gotten in the way of somebody at some point.
Yeah, it's not flashing. Guys aren't like flashing in the gap at the point of attack. Like we're always second. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this first question in the Facebook group from Jason Hutchins kind of piggybacks off the same topic. What makes game playing the most difficult when 3 out of the 5 weeks teams have run the complete opposite of what is shown on tape, and then we can make those adjustments to fill gaps? Like, how hard is that when you are on the field and somebody's out there doing stuff you ain't seen?
That's why D coordinators get paid what they get paid, because you have to be able to prepare for everything. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Marshall was running stuff I haven't seen them run all year. Like QB draw, they were running like high school QB counter with 2 lead block. You know what I mean? So it was just when it's something you haven't seen before. Now, all right, cool. That, like I said, that first 15 is usually that's like their game plan as far as this is what we think will work against our defense. And so, say the first drive, say they get a touchdown. All right, fine. Those are their best plays. Now we have to go to the sideline and talk about, all right, this is what we're getting. And that's kind of the hardest part about that is you have to prepare for what has been successful for them on film, because that's what they run, and then you have to kind of, I don't want to say guess, but you have to make an educated assumption based on coordinator, players, and then what's their history as far as against defenses like ours, what they've done. So that's kind of what all goes into scouting as far as preparing for another team is. All right, usually it's still early in the season, but usually they either do a 3 or 4 game scout. So they're like their previous 4 games. They scout all the plays they run. They break it down based on formation, down and distance, red zone, backed up, fourth down. They break it all down in those categories. And then they kind of go through that early in the week. All right, this is what they've done last 4 games. This is what's worked. This is what hasn't worked. And then as it gets later on in the week, you kind of have to, all right, this is kind of what we think they might run against us, or our problem plays. Like we've seen that QB counter or either running back counter with the tight end flashing back and the guards pulling. We've seen that all year. Like they've been running that. People have been running that on us all year, and it's really the hardest play to fit because literally when the tight end goes, that's two guys moving that way, and then if the tackle or the guard in the center pull this way, that's four gaps moving that way that we have to fit. So two guys have to fit the tight end coming back, and then four guys have to fit the two linemen, and it's just a lot of moving parts. And so you have to prepare for all of that in a week where you only get a certain amount of hours. These guys got to go to class, they got to go to study hall, they got to go to sleep because they got to rest. You know what I mean? And so it's really, really hard to game plan for these college offenses nowadays because these guys are so good at identifying coverage. And that's another thing people really don't realize is that, especially in college, the OCs are so good that they will do one motion and identify what defense you're in. Yeah. And now you're kind of at their mercy. So now they can, they'll like, all right, stop. They look at the sideline, they get the look they want, and they check to the perfect play. You know what I mean? And so it's a lot that comes with it, man. You got to be able to think on your toes on the sideline, and then especially at halftime, come together and say, all right, this is what been giving us problems today. How do we stop that? And then if they go to something else, man, you got to tip your cap and say, Coach, you did a great job. So that's kind of what goes in the game plan. It's a lot, honestly. I didn't think it was that much till I got to college, and I was like, yeah, no, this is insane. So
if you watch, I know Josh does, but those listening, if you watch, ball, and don't focus so much on the ball, pre-snap. Like you see a motion guy, you want to go look and see if you've got a wide enough view of like what the DB is doing on the boundary side. And then sometimes you might have a safety come all the way up when that tight end comes over, like right up to the line of scrimmage. So that may not all happen at the same time. Sometimes you get one piece, sometimes you get both, sometimes you just get the other. But really, like watching what defenses do when people are in motion, whether that's a wide receiver to an orbit or a tight end coming over or whatever it may be, like that's going to tell you what the defense thinks might be happening, and then the offense is going to go bust off of that. And so many times you learn so much about the game of football before the ball is even snapped.
Preach, Big C. Preach. Preach, Big C.
Josh, how come you're not a coach?
I don't want to work that hard, man.
I agree with you. It's a smart decision.
They work incredible hours and weeks out of the year. Like I think as a coach, if you coach college, you probably get 4 weekends out the year.
Man, it's
gotta recruit.
It's not a good losing a lot of good dudes, man.
Nah, maybe
a lot of rounds of golf too.
Probably get to play golf 1 month out the year.
Yeah.
Golly. Nah, I don't have the patience either, man. I tried. I tried coaching AAU this summer. It went well, but I was like, yeah, nah, I can't be a coach. I'm too crazy. I love the game too much. I can't coach somebody who's not as invested as I am.
Oh man, that's tough.
My brain will burst.
All right, Chip Buckwell. Everybody, take a deep breath here. In the post game, I love Chip. Come on now. In the post game, it was mentioned that there were 3 different important penalties that were, his words, uncharacteristic. And I think we used the term goofy, odd, something like that. Yeah. And I think we identified what those were. And he asked, do you know what those 3 players have in common? And we were too nice to identify it on Sunday morning, AJ. But I think we both, or at least I noticed, he says they're all transfers. Additionally, it was mentioned that I have brought up for 2 years now body language. Body language. Chip loves body language. He loves players, backing up their dudes, paying attention to the game, picking them up, all the good stuff. Is the culture we talk about dying a slow death, or is it possible to recapture the magic?
Josh, what do you think about Chip's comment? I'm very interested to hear what you think about like how he saw that and how he broke that down. What do you think?
I don't think the culture's dying. I think
before that, like him making the observation that we had
transfers and the body language and things like that.
So did you watch on Saturday? I mean, I'm sure you did. So Yeah, the taunting, the throwing the football
Yeah.
to the player, the punching in of the helmet or whatever. Like, how did that strike you, Chip, pointing that out? I'm just
I
genuinely
mean,
curious.
honestly, like when Joey threw the ball and the punt, and I was just, I think, to be honest with you, playing football is emotional. And sometimes your emotions get the better of you. And I'm sure during that game, especially its first half, that there was a lot of jaw jacking going on. People were saying things that, they wouldn't say if we weren't playing football. And Joey, I mean, I feel like he just got a little bit ahead of him, not ahead of himself, but he got caught up in the moment. He threw the ball, and if probably 9 times out of 10, he gives the ball to the official, and he goes to the huddle and he keeps playing. You know what I mean? Same thing with the punch. 9 times out of 10, he doesn't throw that, and he just keeps playing football. But there's that 1 time out of 10 when you do it, and now it's on TV, and now people are talking about it. So it's
Right.
just, I think, like the biggest thing is just no. I think the biggest thing is knowing that, all right, I don't want to let down my team because of if I do this is 15 yards and it's going to affect my team. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why I never want to get a penalty, because I don't want to let anybody down that is on the field with me, because
Yeah.
this is not my coaches, but this is how we this is our livelihood. In all honesty, this is how we want to make money. That was my goal, and I don't want to jeopardize anybody's opportunity to do that. You know what I mean? So that's just how I viewed it. That's just how I was, and I think I don't think it's transfer. I think guys are just so caught up in it, and then you're not playing well. Other
Mm-mm.
team is talking.
Well,
Your
you
coach,
were actually never in that situation. You were never in a situation where the team was on the brink and feeling all this stuff, and they're in the middle of. They got waxed twice. Like, you never got waxed. So between
not
Clemson and
two
South
times in
Alabama.
a row. No,
So, but you see what I'm saying? Like these guys are also going through something that
something
that
that's
no
new.
team that you played for
Right.
necessarily went to. I mean, you could say the UMass and the ULM game. ULM game went
AJ,
extra
that was a
innings.
crossroads, man.
That was a crossroads, right?
That
Um,
or Arkansas State my first year when we lost that game. That was
right.
tough, but
But we
yeah,
we had
no,
a winning record at that point. Like, we were playing really,
yeah.
really well at
This is
that
this
point.
is definitely different for
This is, I
sure.
think, there's a different thing, and now in the microscope just gets tighter and tighter on players today than they
Right.
did, and
It's
certainly in
it's
2017.
way more magnified than it's ever been.
Right. And so I hesitate. So I think that what Chip is bringing up, and even that went through my mind, if I'll be honest, was that kind of like, okay, we're trying to make sense of all this. I'm trying to make sense of what's happening, what's going on. Like, because the beginning of the year, if you'd asked me like, what do I think is going to happen? Well, it's not what's happening.
Mhm.
Like, like this, like there was we had someone in the mail satchel, didn't even read it. It was like saying that in the South Alabama post game, I said no one is to blame for this. Like, I said the players quit. I said the players quit, and I said that that was the whole like transfer portal conversation where I said that failure to recruit adequately in different positions, we've had to fill all these gaps. There's a lot of blame that I mentioned, but my point is, you're also trying to make sense of this. You're
Yeah.
trying to say, why is this happening? And there are a lot of reasons for what's happening right now, and I think that you gravitate towards, huh? Not you seen that? I've never seen an app player commit the penalty that Joey committed, but that doesn't mean that something dirty doesn't happen like that at the bottom of a pile. That doesn't mean that stuff doesn't happen in practices that we don't see. Josh, that clip of I guess it was Santana. I think, I don't know. I don't think that was even confirmed, of him swinging the helmet or whatever. Josh, I mean, have you seen something that vicious in a practice with no
Not,
cameras?
I'm not gonna name no names, but
I don't want you to name names, but have you
yeah,
seen
but
something
no,
similar to that?
I've seen a dude punch the helmet off a O lineman in practice.
Okay. All right. So here's my
Yeah,
point. I don't go to practices. I don't get practice reports. I don't ask coaches about practice. I'm not analyzing this stuff. I see the product. I see the
right.
product on Saturday. That's all I see. That's all I really want to see, if I'm being honest. I don't have time to see anything else. I don't read practice reports or anything else. So when you see that, there's a lot of that I don't see. And there's a lot that we don't see. And that doesn't excuse it. for Amani Marshall punching the dude's helmet or whatever. But I know that we've had some dudes on some teams in the past that have done some gnarly things. I'm telling you that we've had some. I'll even go this far. We've had much meaner, tougher, nastier dudes on teams in the past than we do today. There's no doubt with that. But I think with Chip, I think his second part about losing the culture, I do think there is something to be said about just naturally over time, as you lose different pieces, as team leaders come in, and this is why recruiting is so important. And this is why I think I love the idea of recruiting in high school. You got to have guys that sit under guys like Josh. You sat under Doug Middleton and AJ Howard, and Alex Gray, and you and Cato, and you guys all came up together and everything else. I think there's something to that. Here's how we do it. And when that gets interrupted, you do lose a little something. Coaching, volatility, all that stuff. So I'm actually starting to buy more into Chip's observations about guys helping each other up and like the little things. I'm starting to buy into that a little bit more because I think over time that just naturally happens. That doesn't mean there's somebody like rubbing their hands together and saying, "Oh, great, I'm ruining Appalachian State culture." It just means over time, like unless you're really intentional about it and you have leaders passing down intentionally, this is how we do things, you do lose it. And you can say you don't, but it's time for the old guard. Sometimes the old guard passes on, and that's why Appalachian went through some rough times. Armani graduated, Charles, and what happened? We had a lot of skill position players, and things went downhill a little bit. Things got a little bleak there. In 2013, we go 4-8, and then 2014 we pick things back up. But that required a whole new guard of people to rise up. Doug Middleton and I'm just trying to rattle off some names here.
Marcus.
Well, no. So what I'm saying is, Doug Middleton wasn't Doug Middleton 2011 and 12. He was Doug Middleton 2015. It took a whole new set of guys to kind of dream it up again.
Those battle scars, honestly.
And that's where I think we are now. I think it's going to take new players standing up and making it new again.
But also, it takes kind of like what you said, that 4-8, or like Doug Middleton, his senior year, he was like, "Man, I didn't win 4-8. I didn't win 3-9. I'm not doing that my last year." You know what I mean? And so that means something too, especially to a freshman like me. I don't want to go 4-8. I don't want that on my card. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So some guys just, won't accept that type of play. You know what I mean? And that's where the biggest thing comes in. It's like some players just are not going to accept going 4-8 or going 5. Just no, not doing it.
Yeah,
non-negotiable. Like it's not what we came here for. So I think he said the right thing though. It's just like those battle scars and going through it. And I think also like you kind of learn, all right, this is how not to do it. And so now we know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, or this next year, I don't want to move to next year, but looking down the road, kids who are freshmen now and they're, going into their junior senior year saying 2024 was, especially the beginning of the year, this is how you don't do it. And if they see that same pattern of behavior or play, they can nip it in the bud right then. You know what I mean? And so that's what Doug seen stuff that we did in 2015 earlier.
Right.
He was like, no, that ain't gonna work. Like we gotta change that now. Like it's not gonna work like that. So it goes both ways. Like I learned how to do it the right way when I came in, but also learning, all right, this is how you don't do it, because we seen how this works and we lose by 30. So we're not gonna do it like that. So it's both ways for sure.
Yeah, that's why I'm just more and more wanting to put my flag on the hill of like we need to get that pipeline going with high school. And I think now, I don't want to be speaking out of my league, whatever. People can chastise this if they want to, but if the focus really is on portal guys and experienced college players where coaches know, I know you can play in college because you're in the portal, then there maybe is an opportunity to really go in there and build that that timeline, try to create those timelines for players that are handed down. And I don't know, maybe that's pie in the sky, maybe that's a little mushy, but I think Chip, I'm starting to buy into that a little bit more, because you got to have bodies and humans pass down traditions and how the way we do things. And if you get guys for 1 or 2 years, those things aren't. They're just not by virtue of how it works. That's just not how it works.
You mean like fans passing down traditions that we've done forever and not being recognized by those who make those decisions? Like, is that what we're talking about? Because I think it's no different on the field than it is in the stands, and and it's always been one of Chip's points as well. So I hated it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Charles. That's a great point.
It's home run. I mean, it's everything. It's every single little detail. People all the time tell me, don't sweat the small stuff. And honestly, the small stuff is what makes you great.
Yeah.
That's how I always respond. It's always about the small stuff.
Preach.
Yeah. I'm gonna give Chip a little more credit on the body language stuff. I'm starting to buy in that a little bit more. I'll sell the Joey did that because he's a transfer. I'll sell that, and Amani doing that because he's a transfer. I'll sell that, but I'll buy a little more of that, the body language stuff. I think that's
I think
there's something to that a little bit right now.
In the circumstances, everything considered, we got waxed the game we played before. We didn't get to play one. Something crazy happened, and then we had to play again. They wanted to get out there. It's unprecedented. No one has ever been through anything like this team has been through.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Your kicker gets injured in the storm. I mean, think about where our heads are, right?
Some kids might be displaced, like Bavarian villages.
That's a real thing.
Yeah,
it's a real thing that happened. You're worried about your hey, I couldn't get in touch with my boy. That's a real thing that happened this past week. And change to go. So, it's but anyway, sorry to go there with that, but
all that's valid. Yeah,
it's not an excuse. It's these are facts.
Circumstances mean everything.
Heath Degenhart, you get to pick one former Mountaineer to play defense and help bolster that side of the ball for the rest of the season. Who are you picking and why?
I already told Josh mine. I cheated a little bit, but Josh, who did you say?
Eric Boggs.
Eric Boggs.
Get
a little run stopper, fitting that gap.
Hey, Boggs caught a lot of picks too across the middle.
He did.
Don't forget, he was nice. I would say Boggs for sure.
I think Eric Boggs is, and I would say this to his face, he's the meanest, nastiest, super nice guy. Like, if you like, he looks like.
I'm scared to talk to him. I'm
not messing with that dude. Like, he just looks like
goofiest dude you'll ever meet.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying though. Like, he looks vicious, but he's the nicest, sweetest guy.
Strap that helmet on, he turned into a different beast.
I'm not messing with him.
No,
Charles, who are you picking?
I mean, in the same mold, like somebody like right now that we need who can affect multiple facets of the defense. It's going to have to be some linebacker, right? And Boggs fits it. I mean, John Law is not going to let you, get away with anything, right? Jordan Fair probably wasn't going to either. He was going to stick his head in and do stuff and hit people. And we've always talked about our middle linebackers, how that's it was a huge succession of like just incredibly good players who just kind of did the same thing. It's like the numbers changed. On all that, but that's like nothing really did. Just get your head in there and hit people. If you're supposed to defend the flat, go defend the flat, run the sideline and tackle a dude. Whatever it took to get the job done. So I know it's a non-answer, but I think there's a mold of former App State linebackers that
run and hit.
There you go.
So I think it's Dexter Coakley. Like 1995 Dexter Coakley transforms the team.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I also
those guys also don't come around every 40 years.
That was the question. So I want the guy that would come out every 40 years.
Facts.
But here's the other thing too. I'm gonna throw a couple of other caveats here. So Dexter Coakley, but if I also want a guy, and I wasn't around, like I have no idea. I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm not even gonna guess. I don't know what kind of a player in terms of like holding teammates accountable and stuff. Maybe he was somebody that was barking at other players, whatever. But if you also wanted a player to like coach up his teammates on the field and like make them scared, I think you go one of two ways. You can go John Law, because he's going to bark at people want to listen to John Law, and he's going to hold people accountable and whatever, knock somebody's head off. But here's the dark horse, man, is DJ Smith. DJ Smith at inside linebacker, dude. I saw him chew some dudes in college on the bench, just like scar them for life. And he was a leader, and he led by example. He had a nose for the ball. I would trust DJ Smith to be on the inside, helping stop the run game, but coaching his team up, making them better, and holding everybody accountable, and being a great leader. Because I saw that as a student. Like, I just saw that. I saw him do that firsthand. So
he was a coach when I was there. So I mean, you can't go wrong with either one of those guys.
We're talking about the same person, right? Like,
Pretty
right?
much. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a guy.
A
guy.
dude. A dude with a capital D.
That's a mold, you know?
Yeah.
All right. That's a good question from Jay Neal, mainly because it involves math and numbers. So, of course, I like it. Louisiana is a 10.5-point favorite with an over-under of 64.5. Okay. That roughly translate to a final score of 37-27. Is the UL offense really, quote unquote, low scoring compared to South Alabama or Marshall? Okay, so Jay, a lot of these totals that are put into these things are there's still a lot of like preseason expectations put into and baked into a lot of these things. So even though Louisiana opened as I think it was 6.5, 7, and ballooned to 10 is an amazing number. That means that people have put a lot of money on Louisiana, so that's why that number has gone in that direction. I cannot imagine. I don't remember a time in the past where we were this big of an underdog, period, much less on the road to a conference team. It is surprising to me. So I guess what Jay is truly asking is, how does Vegas think Louisiana is only going to score 37 points on us, which is a certainly fair question considering what we've done. I'll leave you at that, guys.
I don't know. I'm Charles. You know me. Like I'm the opposite. Like betting and underdogs and spreads. Like I'm the worst at that. I'm not as ingrained, with that stuff, or interested, if I'm being honest. I actually think, we've been kind of dogging the team a little bit, and they've been not playing well. So I mean, it's not like we're going out of our way to look at negative things necessarily, but to look at some bright stuff here, I still think we got good wide receivers. I think we got some good athleticism. I think Caden Robinson is an absolute dog, out there making tough catches, playing tough for his team, sacrificing his body, all that good stuff. I think we have talent at that skill position. I think they're doing a good job. And I think Joey has not had the year that he did last year for sure. He also has gotten touched a little bit. He got touched a little bit against Marshall, and that has to come into account. I still think Joey's a good leader, and he obviously can make some throws that nobody else that we've played so far can make. Well, I mean, Cade Klubnik made some pretty good throws, I guess. But my point being, Joey's still a really good player. So I don't know. Like, I think we score. My question though is like, what is going to change from us stopping that run, especially in the like with everything, Josh, that you already said. Like, until I see it, I haven't seen it. Right. What happened against ECU? Like we played together a little more cohesive against ECU. Well, guess what? ECU is terrible. So if I don't know, by the way, this ain't a secret. Louisiana's probably going to run the ball, right? Probably going to run the ball. And until we figure out how to stop that, it's hard for me to. Josh, you did such a good job describing just like the mindset of all right, they just convert on third down again because we were in the right position again. Right. And how that compounds and gets frustrated. And guys, first of all, that you physically get tired, but mentally, here we go again. And that's the power.
They're about to run the same play. Like, they're not about to do something. They're about to run the same play.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
And if we can't stop it, it gets demoralizing at a certain point. You know what I mean? So, yeah, like AJ, I'm not a big gambling guy. The most I do is I listen to Bill Simmons talk about $1 million picks every week. But, I mean, like you said, I guess a lot of people put money on the spread at 6.5, and so that jumped it up. But I think, like you said, I think we can score. It's just how many stops can we get? And if we get up, I think we'll be fine. But that's another thing. We've been playing from behind the last couple of weeks, and it's like the game is just so much harder when you're playing from behind, and you can't get the run game going how you really want to because you can't lean on it because you're behind and you have to pass. And now their DNs are just teeing off, pass rushing every time, and so I think we can score. I just think a lot of people are just trying to ride the wave right now, but.
And we're still like, I still think this program is still like, we have an identity issue because we had so much success, Josh, that you enjoyed, of course, at leading with the defense. The defense set the tone for everything. Everything that we did successfully while you were a player was because the defense got off the field on third down. They got off the field, let the offense do its thing, and then the offense was good enough to control the clock and put points on the board to the point where we actually didn't have to do much after that. If we got a cut, this was the Charles, you and I mean, we caught like the Satterfield effect where the other team ain't scoring, so like we'll just run the ball and punt. That's okay, because we're up by 17 points.
Yeah, we're up 17 or 10. It's game over.
What are we doing? Well, that's out of the window. That's not what's
it's opposite. Like now we're down 10 or 17. It's like it's so hard to play when you're down like that
and that's why we won a lot of games.
Yeah, it's so hard. The defense is just they're playing probably cover 4, cover 6. They're not giving up anything deep, so you have to drive 12, 15 play drives just to get 3 points, and you take 6 minutes off the clock, and you're still down 24-13. You know what I mean? It's just it's hard. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, guys. I mean, we're talking about what Louisiana's being able to do as far as running the ball. Like, Marshall decided basically we're going to do our version of what South Alabama did, right?
Yeah.
And that's a real thing. Wake Forest ran for 218 yards on Louisiana. Tulane, who, they lost to, but it was a 1-score game. We know what they like to do. They like to run the ball. John Summerall went there, and they had that built in. And so those are really their two, like, peer games. The other 3 teams are awful that they played. But, I mean, I don't see that changing. But also, like, Wake Forest kind of did some stuff too. Like, and Tulane did some stuff. So, I mean, I think that's why we're probably seeing a really high total. Tulane ran for 272. One guy had 166, but I mean, everyone was getting some bread here. So I mean, it's there, and that's on 47 carries, 5.8 per. But Louisiana also ran on them too, and they split it up a little bit. So I mean, Wooldridge runs a little bit. So as far as like just getting really into the weeds, I mean, if we can just get, like Josh said, like some stops and like make them punt a little bit, I can see one of these games get into like this low scoring kind of a deal.
In the fourth.
And one of these, like, who's going to win that drive in the fourth quarter? But if it's another situation where we feel like if we feel like we can't do what we want to do and we force it to the air, that's where we compound our situations. We have a 3 and out. We get the ball back to them. Our defense not only is, maybe getting hurt a little bit and getting beat, and they go back on the field trailing and on short rest. So, I've always said, like, hey, it's not the kicker's fault he missed a kick. It's the offense's fault for making him kick. It also goes to say, I mean, like, the same thing can be said for, it's not the defense's fault sometimes for giving them touchdowns. It's sometimes the offense's fault for not getting 2 or 3 first downs and giving them a blow. So you can talk about stuff, get coached up a little, learn some things.
3 plays, it's like
45 How is that, Josh? Talk about that. Talk about the dynamic of scoring fast.
Like you said, that Satterfield effect, that is kind of funny because we would get a stop and we would go sit on those yellow chairs, and it would feel like 45 seconds. Like, oh, punt, be up. And I'm just like, there's no way we're punting already. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, you have no time to go over anything. Like, coach would be like, all right, we got this. And like by the time he's about to drop the second play, it's punt. Now you're back on the field and you didn't get any adjustment. You just gotta go out there, and hopefully by the time hopefully it's a TV timeout so he can give you some inkling of what you're about to see. But yeah, like the offense is going like 3 straight 3-and-outs. You're just out there just off the game plan, no adjustments. You know what I mean? So it's tough sometimes, man. You got to go out there and just sometimes you just got to make a play. Like I'm not even going. It's just sometimes you got to go out there and beat the guy in front of you and live with it. So.
All right, Nick Gord, tongue in cheek a little bit. Is it time to panic yet? We'll be quick. I'm going to say not quite yet, but we're getting close.
Getting close. Yeah.
I'll say I'm going to twist that a little bit. It's time to be realistic, and I think I've kind of arrived there. We got some problems going on, and like I don't like. It's not helpful to me personally to just sit there and hope that something that I'm seeing is going to stop happening without reason that it's going to stop happening. I'm thinking about, our inside linebacker, stopping the run. I mean, that's just not happening right now. And in playing defense fast and loose is just not happening right now. The communication in the backfield. Now we could talk all day long. Is that the coaching not good enough? We're not coaching them up enough. Is it that the players just aren't good enough? And it's all tied together. All this is tied together. Like it's tied to recruiting strategy, transfer portal strategy, who's coaching, what's the scheme. Josh, we talked about that a little bit about scheme. It's all that's connected, and coaches are accountable. No one ever hears me say that, but coaches are accountable for that. Players are accountable for their play on the field too. And so panic, I don't think we should panic. I think though we should just be realistic about what's going on. Because that'll drive you crazy. I think if you just sit there and if we're sitting there thinking that every game we go into, we have superior players at every position, and that every time we lose, it's how is this happening? We have better players. I think that would drive me crazy if I went in there. I think right now we have execution problem for sure, and I think it's actually, if you really want to look at it, I think that we're a couple spots on defense that really you see some breakdowns in execution not being done. That's really costing us. That maybe if that gets fixed, and that actually, I want to ask Josh a question. I'm going to add my own satchel thing. This might be asked later in the Facebook group. I don't know, but in a situation, Josh, and you really experience a lot of this, but if you see a particular position or whatever player, and it's just a lot of busts, a lot of misassignments, or whatever, execution isn't there, but then maybe you have someone on the team that isn't as fast or experienced or whatever. How do you balance that? Do you say just go in there, go try someone else, even if maybe you don't know the playbook as well, you're not as situationally aware, but you're going to make a mistake fast. You'll look fast when you do it. Like,
yeah,
what do you think about that?
I think it's tough because the coaches are going to put the best guy out there that's performed the best throughout training camp, spring ball. So I think that's like tough. And if it's not working, that means it's just an execution issue. But I'll tell this story from my last year when we had Coach Roof as our defensive coordinator. He came in, and our defense, we had a bunch of guys who were really, really good. Had a bunch of guys playing the NFL, things of that nature. We knew we were going to have a good defense, and so he wanted to run just a lot of different stuff we've run before. Like his scheme is very similar to our scheme, but it was very complex, and there was guys blitzing here, guys dropping here. I'm blitzing A gap, just we're all kind of doing a lot of different things, and so we gave up we gave up like almost 40 to Charlotte.
Yeah.
And then we played somebody else and we gave up like 30 plus.
It was Coastal.
Coastal. Yeah, we gave up like 30 plus to Coastal.
It's like 500 yards.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks. And AJ, when almost every starter or every player in our defense was like, JT, man, you got to talk to Coach Roof. You got to talk to Coach Roof. Because we internally we were saying, man, we not playing fast. We confused. We don't know what to do sometimes. It's just – and we had played together. We had all been there 4 or 5 years. So we all know each other. We kind of, that last little step we couldn't take because we we were hesitant. And so they like, man, JT, you got to talk to Coach Reed. You got to talk to him. You got to tell him something. And I'm looking like, what y'all want me to tell Coach Reed? He been coaching longer than I've been alive. What I'm supposed to tell him? And so, man, it was like, I think we're about to play our next game. It was Thursday after practice. And I'm sitting in my room just looking at my phone like, man, am I really about to call this dude? Like, I'm just nervous, like, because Coach Roof is like intimidating. He just one of them. He an old school ball coach. Like, he don't no nonsense. Come to work, get your work done. Like, just don't want to hear no fluff. And so I called him, and I just called him. I was like, kind of gave him the spiel of how everybody was feeling, and just, can we just figure out a way to simplify that game plan so everybody can just go out there and play fast and play free, and so we can all reach the goals we want to reach. And he said, man, JT, he said he was already thinking that he was feeling that from the defensive side of the ball. He just thanked me for, coming up to him and being man enough to voice the opinions of everybody on the team. And so we simplified it a little bit, and we were able to, turn it around and be the best defense in the conference and, get back to those stats that we talked about. So I think, man, it all has to come, like, players and coaches have to be able to communicate honestly with each other. And like you said, the middle linebacker is not fitting it right. He has to be able to go tell Coach Sloan, Coach, when we run in these certain coverages, I really don't know my fit. You know what I mean? And so, and then Coach Sloan, this is just, hypothetical. Coach Sloan, like, all right, which defenses do you feel, 1,000% confident if I call these 4 or 5 coverages that you can fit this no matter what they run? And he should be able to say, all right, I know cover 3, cover 6, I should be at these 4 or 5 calls, say if it's a big third down or big red zone play, Coach Sloan, it should be in the back of his mind, not in front of his mind. But all right, MLB, he knows this, and this. If we get in a tight spot, that I know he can fit it right. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of how how players and coaches have to work together, because coaches can't play, players can't coach. You gotta work together. So that's how I would view it. It's just, all right, it's not working. All right, what do you know 1,000%, no questions, no hiccups, what what I mean? And then let's build off that. You know what I mean? And so now we introduce, all right, so we tell the Mike, this is just like cover 3 to you. So you fit it like cover 3, but the back end we run it something different. So now he's not worried about, oh, they're in cover 4, so I gotta do this. No. For you, it's cover 3, you fit it like cover 3, everybody else run cover 2. You know what I mean? So you gotta work with what you got. Sometimes that's how it goes. You know what I mean? You can't every Mike's not an Einstein. You know what I mean? So it's just how it is.
AJ, remember when we talked to Ted Roof?
Yeah, of course I do.
And he had that NC State notebook.
Yeah.
And I was like, did you see that? And you were like, yeah, what? I was like, I don't think that's gonna work. I don't know what's in there, but it ain't gonna work.
I
just had a feeling. I was like,
they have their game plans from. I mean, he had stuff from Auburn in 2002. I was like, why do you have this?
Hey,
2019. It was crazy. They have their game plans from 20 years ago. They have it all in their office. Like, they just bring it with them no matter what.
So I'm not gonna bust this guy, but there's a guy from that defense that told me a story similar to that, but kind of implied he was the one that talked to Coach Roof. I'm certainly not gonna do it right now.
You can text me later, but
yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do it written communication. I might call you and tell you.
Yeah, I remember making that phone call. Whoever it was,
I believe you.
It was like, JT, you got to call him. I was like,
why was it you? Were you just the?
I was the leader. I was 2-time captain. Everybody thought Coach would, he would respect it if it came from me, because we just had some guys who'd be like, in the back, like, man, this ain't gonna work. I'm like,
I ain't gonna say nothing.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, man, y'all gotta calm down. Like, the walk through, somebody fit it. That'd be the worst. Like, when you're on defense and you're in the walkthrough. So we walking it, we going real slow, and people not fitting it right. Like, that'll drive a defensive coordinator. He'll just but he'll blow his top. Like, he'll just go crazy. Because we just spent the whole meeting. Because you got to think, coaches, they've been meeting all day since 8 to 2:30. Then they come in for meetings at 3:30. They go over it for an hour and a half. We done went over it 3 times, and then you get on the walkthrough and you bust. And they just, it's just crazy stuff. Yeah.
Oh man, that's good.
So the scores of those 3 games before
I can tell you.
that Louisiana game, it was 56-41, beat Charlotte. 34-31, of course, we all know what that was the Carolina game. 56-37.
Coastal.
The Coastal game was the lightning storm / delay game.
Yeah.
And everybody left, and we probably checked out because we were up 20. You know, and we just can't let them score, and we just go and score again.
That was close. That was a 1-possession game in the second half at one point. I mean, that was close.
Yeah, we kind of sleptwalked through that second half.
And then after you made that phone call, Josh, you're looking at that 17-7 game at Louisiana. So we gave up 7 to Louisiana, 7 to Monroe, 3 to South Alabama. We had that game in Boone against Georgia Southern. And then, man, we were just cruising. Man, we just cruised. And we gave up 38 points to Louisiana in the conference championship game. So, I mean, that was kind of close.
I mean, we were up like 45-10, and then they scored like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, they made that. I made that close. That was
Darrington was so good that game, bro.
It was great.
Yeah,
untouchable.
Yeah, no. So I think at the end of the day, though, I don't know what the dynamic is with Coach Sloan as players. I don't know. I can't say that this guy has had that conversation. But Josh, that is such valuable insight, because what you're basically saying is we were giving up a lot of points. We had a lot of dudes on the team. But is that communication and coming to like who's good at what do you need to know, and having that. Now it helps have great players, right? But that's great insight. I appreciate you sharing that. That was awesome.
So the last 3 questions are not between the lines questions, which I think is fine, and I think it's a good way to wrap. But Ryan Minnick starts with, when will we find out the remainder of our games? When they will be played? Where will they be played this year? And how will season and single game tickets be honored at a different stadium? I'm 100% sure we can put more butts in seats than Wake if we played there. So,
do you have a prediction, Charles?
I have a prediction that would rooted in some fact. You know, it's great that the Journal put out an article that, you know, that assistance was offered by, you know, other schools in the state of North Carolina. That's great. The reality's maybe not as great, even though schedules match up. It's not just, you know, putting puzzle pieces together.
Super hard to do.
It's not just putting puzzle pieces together.
Right.
But my lean / maybe there's some information is that we really want to play the games in Boone, right?
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Like if we had to choose, boom.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then of course we can talk junk about Wake and UNC Charlotte if you wish to. Like, what would that look like? You know, what would that look like if we went to Charlotte or we went to Wake and like what, you know, who all's going? Is everybody going, or is more people going? Is Wake going to have a bigger problem on their hands and UNC Charlotte than they really want?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Sure. Because like you're going basically, you know, obviously you'd probably lose a lot of like student turnout because they're not going to be, you know, classes are going to start, you know, on the 17th.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have that issue. So, but still, even if half the students turned out, I mean, where a lot of our students come from?
Yeah.
Winston-Salem, Charlotte, Raleigh, you know, all that good stuff. They're going to go. They're going to figure it out. They're going to stay at mom and dad's or whoever's.
Do their laundry. Get the laundry done.
All those Charlotte fans and more that don't come every week would be there, right? So I think it's probably a disaster. Probably more trouble than they want. It's not as simple as just, you know, rolling the chains out, flipping on the scoreboard, and like making sure there's some supreme combos in the concession stand at UNC Charlotte, and you know, and it's not just making sure there's, you know, some Deacon brew in the concession stands at BB&T Field or Truist, or I don't know what they're doing. It's Grove Stadium to me, is what I'm saying. It's always going to be Grove Stadium. If y'all
Game's
want
going to be played in Boone. Come on.
Yeah, come on. We're going to do it.
Game's going to be played in Boone. That's what's going to happen. Great question, but
I love it. But I don't want to live in a world where you have to play at UNC Charlotte.
And I do trust, by the way, that the people making those decisions have like weighed the risk and all that good stuff. Blah, 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 blah.
100%.
Yeah.
They've done all that.
Sure.
So PJ Hennessy piggybacks, I'm going to say, assuming no games in Boone. So we're in this world. Pros and cons of playing in Charlotte or Winston, we kind of hit a little bit of that. I mean, if you're talking about me, I'd rather go to Wake than go to Charlotte. With that. And it's not even close. It's a bigger stadium. At least the colors kind of match, so it wouldn't feel weird. You know what I mean? We know how to win there.
Yeah. Well, the stadium thing is it begins and ends with the stadium. Like, you need capacity. I actually think if that did happen, and it won't, but I think if that did happen, I think it'd be enormously packed. And the novelty of just being around that area, going, "Hey, App's playing like a home game here. It's kind of cool." I think that would draw. But athletics, I know that we're all being like sensitive. This is a very serious time. There are bigger fish to fry, so to speak. But it would help athletics. And secondary priority, of course, so much to just have this game. People have the tickets that they bought, have the parking passes that they bought, not having to do this equivalency of, I sit in these seats and what seats can I get? And just not having to deal with any of that is a huge deal. So I was going to go either way. But it's Wake Forest would be that's the only cool thing would be, to go down to Charlotte and do that would just be to show them that for an away game in an emergency, like, FEMA disaster relief, time period for us, we still put more people in their stadium, and it's not even our stadium. That's
probably turn people back.
Yeah. That's probably the only highlight of going to Charlotte.
Like, y'all going to bring in temp seats so we can have a home game in your stadium?
That was hilarious. They're bringing in temp seats. I said, we're going to have 20,000 people there.
All in gold. We're in all that gold in those temp seats up there, man. It's great. What a great moment.
It's crazy. Yeah. Or like that Vandy game. That was insane. I could not believe how many Bama fans were there.
Yeah.
I could, but still.
Yeah, it was wild.
Eerie.
It's like Chris Collinsworth said on Sunday Night Football, Cowboys and Steelers never play a road game. All their fans are somewhere else.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Last one. Don't know if y'all saw this. Probably did. Nathan Powell. The question is, what are the odds Eric Church reps some kind of gear from the following concert at BOA at Bank of America? I'm sure y'all saw the concert for Carolina.
Yeah.
Screenshot. I mean, that's that's like probably a once in a lifetime kind of deal.
Yeah, for sure.
So was he wear? So the question is, will he wear Carolina stuff, Tennessee stuff, UNC actual stuff, App State stuff, Western stuff, Lees McRae stuff, Watauga High School?
I want him to wear Lees McRae so bad. Just wear that Lees McRae.
I want to see it. I want to see a Bobcat sweater out there, dude. It would kill me.
That's where his place is. He lives out there in like Manor Elk,
Linville. Yeah, same. I don't know if he can get there. Well, he probably can. But
yeah, he can get there.
He probably can. That's not. I mean, it's just the fact of the matter.
Hey, we've dunked on Eric Church a lot. Just whatever. And it's who really cares? Like, he's just some famous guy that likes the Tar Heels. Whatever. We'll pray for him. But how cool is it that he gave over publishing rights for a song like that? That was really awesome. Cool. That was really, really cool. Josh, did you see that?
Yeah. I mean, if anybody knows anything about the music industry, half of anything they do is over their publishing. So for him to do that is incredible.
In that video he recorded, it just felt like, I know he's like an entertainer and he knows how to like pull heartstrings or whatever, but man, it did feel like he was feeling it, like that decision. And that was really cool. But a lot of people were like, well, why did they put it on the Dave? And here's the fact of,
you got to do it when you got to do it.
Booking a NFL stadium in a major city that fast they just had to pick and to maximize revenue that's going to go to that.
They said we have this, and this.
Yeah,
Pick
that's it. Yep.
I mean,
pick one.
all you got to know is when you see that little poster is who the sponsors are that are involved, and you've got what I would call some heavy hitters. You know, Miller Lite, Jack Daniels, T-Mobile, Blue Cross Blue Shield, North Carolina, and I don't know where Whataburger comes in, but
they're
but
nationwide.
Yeah, I know, but not Nation Boone or Nation North Carolina.
Yeah, hey, there's a Whataburger. They're opening it on Highway 70 out here in southeast North Carolina. Hickory. Come on,
Southeast
Charles.
Hickory. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll next time I'm through.
Well, it's not open yet. Hold on, I got ahead of myself. They're going.
Next time I'm through there when they open.
Love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these are, you know, that concert is really cool. And, you know, I hope we're playing a game in Boone that day, and I hope I get to miss that concert. But if something lines up, you know, cool. But that's a heck of a lineup if that's the type of music you like, and that is the type of music I like. So
yeah, I know you're a big James Taylor guy for sure. I know you're really looking forward to that.
3 or 4 ain't bad.
Yeah. No. Here's the other thing. I've never really waxed poetic over country music, you know, concerts before, but I'll say this is why this is meaningful to me, even though I'm definitely not going to go to that concert, is typically what happens in situations like this. Western North Carolina is not in popular culture, like relevant. It's not a coastal town or a coastal city. It's going to be very easy for people to forget very soon what's going on up there. And so for a guy like Luke Combs and Eric Church to put like shine a bright spotlight on this with a concert and raise that money and like put a little pop culture on it and attach relevancy to it like that on their own volition. Like, you know, that these guys were like, we want to do this. This wasn't something brought to them. I'm almost 100% sure. That means a lot to me as somebody that I'd certainly identify as like a person from Western North Carolina. And obviously, I don't know if you guys know this, but Boone means a lot to me in Western North Carolina. Maybe that's obvious. I love that. So yeah, it's on the day of an at-home game and whatever, but I suspect probably millions of dollars will come out of this. Go and help the citizens of Western North Carolina, which they need it. This is great.
There will not be a problem selling tickets to that concert.
Not
at all. They will, you know, and we all know what concerts are like and what the scalping community is like, you know. So I just hope, and with scalpers, they cannot be priced out. They will buy what they can buy, and they will flip it for double or triple. But that I hope there is a way to commemorate that concert, which people always do, but it really needs to be captured, you know, so like on YouTube, so to speak, and I'm sure it will. There's got to be a way for that. So that would be really neat. So we can all think about that and go watch it for those who hopefully go into a football game in Boone that day.
Yeah. Josh, are you a country music guy?
I am not. No.
Yeah, that's my brother right there. I'm always alone. I'm always alone on this show. Always.
I mean, you're from Western North Carolina, so yeah, you would be alone. I'm from Alabama, so people look at me like I'm crazy when I say I don't like country music, but it's not my vibe, man.
I'm with you. I get on this show, I'm always double teamed. I
definitely understand the appeal. I get it. It's just not for me.
All right, well, I'm outmatched again. I don't understand the appeal, but that's cool. You know, that's fine. Whatever, that's awesome. You know, no, I don't care. Whatever, it's music. Enjoy it. Have fun.
It's music.
Yeah, it's like music. I don't want to say grunge because people love grunge, but like punk rock, like
that's AJ stuff right there.
Yeah, I like that now. Hey,
that's his jam.
Watch out.
Megadeth.
See how you get.
We're not on the same team anymore. You're done. Yeah. Hey, Charles, if this game kicks off, let's say at 1:00, so it's obviously going to be over by 4:30, and that concert, really, you know, nothing good is going to happen until 8:00. You going to the concert?
I'm see, you know, y'all know me. I'm not the guy that rolls in late. If I spent $300 for this concert ticket, I want to listen to all the music. I don't care how bad it is.
No doubt.
Yeah, that would be very difficult to do the double duty, and I hope we do not situate that to do that. for instance, I hope we don't kick off at 12 just so people can like leave, or 11 or 11:30 or something like that, so people can get the opportunity to leave and then do both. That's a long day.
So
because I mean it says 5:00. I don't know if there's other groups coming on. It says and more,
yeah.
I'm sure there will be warm up guys or warm up outfits prior to the headliners. And of course, it's also hosted. So I mean, like you've got Caleb Presley, who's on Barstool, who is one of probably the best podcasters in the world, to be honest.
Whoa!
I mean,
okay.
listen,
behind you guys, of course.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then obviously, ESPN personality Marty Smith, who everybody knows.
Oh yeah.
Who so there's going to be probably a lot of it. It's just going to like. It's not going to be like your typical concert. Probably going to be a little bit of like a telethon kind of deal.
Like a show. Yeah.
Right. So does the show start at 5? Does the music start at 5? What do we know? I mean, just do the right thing. Put this on the CW and call it a night. No one needs to see that. No one needs to see whatever ACC game is on. Like we don't
Syracuse
need to see
and Boston College.
No, we don't need to see that. Just somebody do the right thing. I mean, put it on the tube. Put it on the CW. Put it on WCCB. You call it. I don't care.
All right. So I think the logic, if they do kick off at 12, though, I don't think it'll have anything to do with the concert. I think that as I try to anticipate, it's a hotel thing. They don't want people to book hotels up there.
They're already booked.
That's what I'm saying.
Are you telling me that the hotels aren't sold out right now in Boone and on October 4th?
I don't know. I'm just telling you.
They aren't. They aren't.
Okay. But they don't want people up there, though. They want people like come up and leave. That's what I'm saying.
That's as much of a disaster as going to the hotels, honestly. Because everybody has to leave because there's a curfew. I don't know. I know I'm going to get flack for this. I don't care. But if everybody has to leave, that's worse than everybody. I'm going to go to the hotel or we're going to go out to dinner. Like everybody's at dinner at the same time and everybody's off the mountain at the same time. It actually causes more confusion than people get an opportunity to like go to the hotel, go to the cabin, whatever.
I mean, I'm ready to leave. I mean, I'm after games. I mean, I live close enough that we never have to stay in a hotel. I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
I mean, get out.
You're an hour down. Yeah, it's fine. It makes sense. But for those that are 3 hours, 2.5.
Oh yeah, they're wanting to chill for a second.
They're like, hey, let's marinate. Let's get some food in us and do the thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was 6 and I used to be gone.
Say what?
I was sick. My mom used to leave. She would come to the game. We would eat dinner and she gone.
Really?
Text her when I get home. Yeah.
She'd get back at like 2 a.m?
Yeah, dude. Road warrior is what I called her.
So she wouldn't stay. She'd drive. She'd do down and backs.
Yeah, down and back. She'd get there she would get there so I could see her before we have to go to the stadium. She'd probably take a nap before the game. I'd see her at Mountaineer Walk, and then we eat dinner, and she right back. Road warrior.
That's the life as
a parent of it's crazy,
dude. That's so dangerous.
My dad did the same thing. When we played, who did we play? UNC. He drove to Chapel Hill. He got
from
there
Alabama and back.
Yeah, he texted. He got there literally like at kickoff. He like took a picture as the kickoff was happening. Saw him after the game before I got on the bus. Then I was like, "What y'all about to do? Y'all about to go to the hotel?" He's like, "What? Man, we going back home." I said, "Oh man,
golly,
God."
I don't even like driving back from Chapel Hill.
And after making the drive from Charlotte to back home twice, like a couple times for all this stuff I've been doing, I was like, "Yeah, nah, my parents are different." Like,
about 6 hours, isn't it? From Charlotte,
it's like 5. It's like 5 and some change. But by the time I get to Atlanta, I'm like, my head's nodding a little bit. I'm like, "Oh man, what am I doing?"
And once you're on the other side of Atlanta, there ain't a lot to look at, is there?
No,
to like keep you awake.
It's trees. That's it. Yeah, it's nothing.
Back in the day, Georgia, I used to do stuff like that, man. Not anymore, dude. Not even close.
Oh yeah,
I can't believe.
I mean, I probably got 2 more years max of doing stuff like that, and it's probably gonna be over. I'll be tired.
Shout out to Daddy and Mama Thomas, I guess, man.
Shout out.
Wow.
Road warriors, man.
Anyway, so okay,
that's it.
That's it.
That's actual.
Cool. Well, this is great, Josh, man. Thanks again for joining us, man. You're such a great addition when you're on here, man. Great stories, great insight. Really appreciate you, dude.
Always. I love coming on here, man. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Well, we're the second best podcasters in the world, I guess, to Caleb Presley is what I'm learning tonight. So,
I mean,
anyway, appreciate you being on the silver medal. Charles, final words?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Those are final words. For everybody that stuck around this long, thanks for downloading this episode of the Black and Gold Podcast. Thanks to Boonshine Brewing for sponsoring the show. And again, if you want to continue to support Boone and its citizens and its businesses during this time, go to boonerecovery.com and join our GoFundMe efforts. And thanks to everybody up to this point. We've had longtime listeners, athletes, coaches. There's so many people give. Now I think we're at 47,000. It's unbelievable. But thanks for participating. But until our post-game episode this Sunday, go Apps.